Now, plot armor is one of those terms where everyone thinks they know what it means, but they aren't really sure. Take, for example, the different definitions. Amateur criticism, including maybe mine, would have you believe that plausibility is the be-all end-all. For example, if a character is known to be a martial artist, then them surviving a 100v1 is plausible, and that there's no plot armor involved. But that's wrong because, by that definition, Batman should be able to beat up Darkseid, and I don't think foreshadowing can just about cover it either. Because we all know of Batman's utility belt, right? Besides that thing having less capacity than an average backpack, it seems to hold more things in it than 2 suitcases, a duffel bag, and a mansion combined. Or if Batman survives an encounter with Killer Croc, then he prepares Croc repellent in advance, and then at the end of the movie, that allows him to beat him. I think that's dumb, because it means that a character can get away with anything so long as it was foreshadowed, and any competent writer or a person can just go back to the beginning and just leave breadcrumbs for the hero to find, which isn't really telling of good writing, which is basically 90% of Batman comics, where he adds explanations at the end to try and justify his shenanigans. So what is plot armor? Surprisingly, I'm not sure either, but I did some research and I somewhat have a rough understanding of it. Plot armor is when the plot itself twists and bends in order to save someone, or in some cases, help someone find something very important. When a character is in a dire situation with a 0% survival rate where any other character would die, but then they somehow walk away unscathed. Not only that, but when a weakened hero is hiding away in a small town and the villain who's desperately looking for him doesn't check that small town because of stupid reasons like, oh, why would the hero be there? Another example is when like a monster that kills everything and everyone suddenly picks up the hero and throws him across the room because it doesn't feel like killing him at the moment, which then gives the hero enough time to escape or kill it. That to me is plot armor. Now, one thing to note about plot armor is that it's not actually a bad thing or a good thing. It depends on how you use it. Plot armor is just an observation of how events unfold. It's nuanced and there can be bad cases and good cases. The reason why this term, plot armor, is used in a derogatory way is because it tends to be a byproduct and a staple of bad writing. Not always, but most of the times it is. Now, I know this is a bit of a shitty explanation, but my understanding of it is also pretty shitty. And in general, it's kind of weird to describe what plot armor is, because it's one of those things where you'll know it if you see it. And the reason why it's somewhat difficult to pinpoint what plot armor is because of the nature of heroic flicks. By definition, heroic stories require the hero to overcome obstacles, preferably ones greater than him, to create suspense and high stakes. Otherwise, there's little to no merit in watching a character who always wins, easily at that. I mean, why else do you think most people don't like watching these overpowered characters fight? Because they'll obviously win and there's no suspense in the show whatsoever. But then things become tricky when you take into account that most stories can be interpreted via the survivorship bias of sorts. For example, if there's 16 fishes trapped in a pond, and all of them take the risk of swimming onto land to try and reach the ocean, 15 of them could die and we will only see the one who makes it. The story of the fish who swam on land and was able to reach the ocean, or something like that. Those are the types of stories that get written. But then hold that note, because that would make definitions like distinguishing between a character surviving an ordeal just so the plot can continue and a character surviving due to plot elements invalid. But I think the survivorship bias argument is also incorrect along with that one, because just because it's a story doesn't mean that anything should go and it's justified, because this leaves a lot of legroom for nonsense, because characters like Krillin would be able to beat up Beerus and Zeno and no one would question it because it's just a story, right? But before I continue, a bit of a refresher. Plot armor isn't a is or not thing. It's more of a spectrum, and many people, including myself, use it in a derogatory way because of bad writing. But it's also not exclusively to bad writing. And an example of bad plot armor is Indiana Jones surviving a goddamn nuclear explosion by hiding in a fridge. Not a vault or safe, but a fridge. Now, I know Matt Peck did the science and explained that there was some plausibility in this actually happening in real life. But fuck that, it's a stupid scene and it showcases a bad case of plot armor. But spoiler alert, the answer is here. Another example of bad plot armor is the Harry Potter thing. I don't care if it was foreshadowed since the first movie. Harry Potter should have met his parents after the first duel with He Who Shall Not Be Named. And now, forgive my foggy memory, but in their second duel, under the similar circumstances, Harry was able to beat Mr. Noseless? How? I don't care if there was a reason behind it, but this was stupid as well. Now, an example I'm not really sure of, but I would say maybe it falls in the middle, is the whole James Bond thing. This man, in fact, along with Tom Cruise, have at least 10 situations where they barely survive in each movie. But then on the flip side, this shit is somewhat plausible. And yeah, I know I said that plausibility isn't the answer, but it's not hard to see as both men are highly skilled. And again, plot armor is used in a derogatory manner, but it's more nuanced. It's an observation of how events unfold. And so, last but not least, a good example of plot armor is the Iron Man taking the stones from Thanos. This is a bit stupid, but this works because this shit was fucking cool and shocking, and it leads me to my final conclusion and answer. Satisfaction. I actually found a Reddit post that perfectly describes this for me. This person says, and I quote, "We know that the hero is going to survive, but we are counting on it being done in an interesting way. If you drop a hero into a dragon layer, we subconsciously know that the hero will be fine, but the way they survive better be interesting as hell. The hero should display appropriate abilities. Either he survives through wit, stealth, or martial prowess." And this is a perfect description to sum it all up. Shout out to this dude, he knows his stuff. Good writers, wait, I just hate that too. Skilled writers is better. Now, less skilled writers want to create epic scenes for their characters, like, I want my character to have super speed and or have reality warping powers, or maybe face a dragon. When time comes for conflict to happen, their overpowered hero becomes a problem. Then they have to pull excuses out of their asses to try and justify the hero struggling. And more often than not, they make the hero look stupid, and it comes across as manufactured and forced, because these writers lack the necessary skill to execute their ideas, or rather, they don't put in the appropriate efforts. And it's not only heroes that get plot armor. 99.9% of Flash villains have plot armor. This disease occurs when writers think that they have enough skill for certain ideas, but this can also affect skilled writers as well. Take Kung Fu Panda for example. It has some of the best writing among animated films, but you know just as well as I do that Po shouldn't have been able to beat Tai Lung. Now, I know that the whole message and theme are what's important for the story, and the fight is more of an entertainment thing, but it's also a case of plot armor nonetheless. But I don't want to make this video any longer, so I'll end it here. If you disagree, fight me in the comment section. Also, this is a bit embarrassing, but I've already written and recorded a video regarding characters with plot armor, but the definition I used there is pretty trash, since I didn't do the research prior to it. But some of them are valid, and yeah, that's all, folks. Was I allowed to say that?
Is he allowed to say
legally?
that? Legally?